This is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm actually going to be live trading throughout this entire video, showing you how I actually catch the moves during the New York AM session. So currently it's 9:15 a.m. We're probably going to need to wait up until the 9:30 market opens, simply because we have PPI data release. We're now beneath data lows inside of a 4-hour fair value gap on NQ, refined to a 1-hour gap, and we got the 8 AM lows, 8 AM highs, with a potential daily CRT in play. The midpoint of that daily CRT is right here, and the lower end is right there. So we're going to see what happens with the chart here, and if we actually do catch a potential entry. ES is right next to it, 4-hour gap, 8 AM lows, 8 AM highs. No daily CRT on ES. What is my bias for today? Well, as you guys can see, we consolidated and then we distributed lower here. Expect to see another period of consolidation for a bit, and then I'm going to be looking for some type of power of 3 objective to probably go long, targeting the highs, depending if we get that clean reaction from this 4-hour gap refined down to a 1-hour gap. We might be able to take out the lows, 8 AM lows, tap into the midpoint of the daily CRT, and then catch a potential retracement back to the upside. So we'll have to take a look and see what happens here. I'm willing to change my bias on the day. So far, everything's bearish. However, I'm expecting some type of power of 3 event to go long. So we'll have to go ahead and wait and see what happens throughout this entire session. Something to point out, if we go onto the 5-minute time frame and we measure out the Asian range high and low, which is 20 o'clock up until midnight, starting right there, we got the 8 p.m. highs and the midnight lows, which are right over here. If we go ahead and extend the standard deviations of this range, you'll notice we're actually at the 3rd standard deviation. So let's just add this on. Okay, no, we have not tapped into the 3rd standard deviation yet. So another move down could happen here, taking out those 8 AM lows, tapping into the midpoint of the daily CRT range, and also tapping into the 3rd standard deviation beneath the Asian range, all of which are points of reversal in my books. So we'll have to wait and see here. In about 10 minutes. So right now we're just waiting it out. 5-minute time frame, nothing really here. We have a huge 5-minute gap right there. I do think we'll end up filling that gap, hence my bullish bias. Also on ES, we have some equal highs right over here that can be targeted, that we're now manipulating beneath this low inside of a 4-hour gap, which can cause the reversal, similar to NQ here. I'm not willing to get long off of this, so this order block right here, which was tapped into. I would much rather wait for a sweep of the 8 AM lows, or at least get some type of bullish SMT at the lows here. Right now we don't have the bullish SMT, so I would prefer to wait. AM lows. Expect it or not. So 9:30 market open right here. NQ is now above this high right there. ES still not there yet. I'd like to see if that's an SMT that's respected or not, to potentially push towards those 8 AM lows. Don't take out the possibility of us retracing towards the highs. I did say I was bullish. We do have a huge 5-minute gap here. If you go into the 5-minute chart right there, that could potentially be filled. We are beneath data lows, so data low to data high type of model there. Unless we inverse this gap, holding that SMT there. That's the most ideal situation. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Prior, well as an IFEG. So this IFEG right there would have been your entry validation point right there, TP1, and then final. So it looks like the
¿Y tú, en dónde invertirás $1.000.000 hoy? Te presento un modelo de negocio rentable con un ROI.
The data lows to data highs method is playing out. The midpoint of this entire range being right over here. So we did tap into it. The ideal entry for this, avoiding CRT, would have been waiting for the order block confirmation there, as well as an IFVG. So this IFVG right there would have been your entry validation point right there, TP1, and then final TP there. And you can have TPs within this range there. So it looks like we had the order block validate right over here, like I pointed out prior, right over here. Nice thick order block candle with the IFVG forming right over here. And then the entry would have looked something like this. So entry with the validation of the IFVG right there, targeting the opposing end of the data range. Stop loss going beneath the order block just in case we need to tap into that order block, which you can see we actually ended up doing right there. This was at 905. TP1 would have been hit at these highs right here, internal high, as well as the midpoint of this entire range. And then TP2, you can easily have it at the midpoint of this gap right there, which would be just around here where we're at right now. And then final TP at the highs. That being said, I was waiting for a CRT model. It looks like the S&T is off the books here, and we might just continue expanding upwards. We'll have to wait and see. On both ES and NQ, so looks like this was the manipulation into pretty confident that we will continue the move up. Looks like this was the manipulation into the internal range liquidity to then come up to external range liquidity on both ES and NQ. So we're probably not going to get an hourly sweep in this session. And we should expect the fair value gap here to be respected and held. Looks like ES tapped into its gap, NQ will not need to do it. That 5-minute gap can act as a propulsion to basically head higher here. We'll have to wait and see on ES. Very similar, just a lot smaller of a 5-minute gap, and we have the 1-minute gap on ES. Instead, that's holding right there. So right now my target's still these 8 AM highs, even though we're just analyzing price action at this point. We're probably not going to come take out those lows simply because ES already tapped into its internal range liquidity there. We are already turtle soup in 1-minute lows. And it looks like some people would have been fooled out in this range to start going short. So here. Ideally, price continues to expand up here and doesn't stop at this range low. Right there, we want to see price continue expanding upwards and not rejecting. ES is looking decent as well here. So we're above the discount of that range. A retracement later on here, back into a discount for a potential re-entry, could come in. And this might be the point of where NQ starts to dip a bit to get that price back into a discount. Let's see what happens here. So we need ES to come back into the 6472.5 level. Shorts for me here would not be valid. We are not above data highs, so that's that. It would be interesting if we can see NQ tap into a discount as well of the entire range. That would mean the 5-minute gap would need to be tapped into. So ES is now in a discount inside of an order block, ready and primed to head higher. NQ still not there yet. We actually are not even inside of that 1-minute gap either. Right there. Here somewhere. ES primed to head higher like.
El nuevo orden mundial.
primed to head higher, like I said already, inside of discount and an order block there, whereas NQ is not in a discount. So it looks like ES provided the better entry. I would not be looking to go short here. I do think though NQ can do this. So here's the thesis. Coming down, taking out these equal lows, tapping into a 5-minute and 1-minute gap, potentially seeing something like that, quick wick into the discount, and then a continuation higher. So that would be the idea. We also got the 10 o'clock hour opening up very soon here, literally in a few minutes. Never even wicked into the 9 AM highs, ideally would be right there, depending on if we break higher in this next minute. We actually never even wicked into the 4-hour gap here, so a potential move higher is definitely valid, especially since we got data highs as well. Simply going to wait it out. ES, the prime indice here right now, as we said, we tapped into a discount into that order block. Highs are still valid as a point of take profits, so draw on liquidity. NQ didn't really give us that discount, which is fine, but we'll see if we actually end up heading lower and then higher again. I mean, ES looks extremely good here to go long. Not that you should be entering here, I'm just saying we tapped into the discount. That was the most ideal position that you could have entered. We'll go ahead and draw the 9 AM high and low for ES here as well, which the 9 AM highs would be right there, and the 9 AM lows being right over here. So this is the 9 AM open. We'll just mark it out. I want to teach you something here. What do you notice? So price action, I mean, could it have been considered bullish? Sure, right? I explained that at the beginning of the video. We had the order block form, we had the IVG form, we're beneath data lows, we're inside of a 4-hour gap, refined down to a 1-hour gap, and then we have the 9 o'clock open, we manipulate down into the order block, and now we basically manipulate back to the upside above the open. Manipulate, what I mean by that is displacement. Even if you were unsure that this was displacement right there, you could have waited up until 9:30 and seen this entire play, basically. So we had the first fair value gap form right there, small little fair value gap there, not really respected. Instead, we respected this order block right there. And the true displacement of the range would have been right over here. So these two fair value gaps forming, 9:30 market opening right about here, and then tapping into that gap and expanding higher towards the draws on liquidity. First off, we got the premium, and then secondly, we got the range high, which is the data highs right there. So yeah, I don't think the entire move is done yet. I think we're still going to end up heading higher. It would be ideal if NQ could do something where price opens up here at 10 AM, right? And then we kind of manipulate beneath the open, maybe respecting that order block. I doubt it. I think moving down beneath these equal lows and then displacing back up above that open with maybe a retracement is your best entry possible. An order block validation to go right there. So we'll just mark this out as red. Drop down to relief fair value gap right. All right, so right here we're currently turtle souping the 9 AM highs on ES, not on NQ. Still bullish though. 9 AM highs being turtle souped. On the 15-minute time frame, we have a potential 15 minutes CRT with this candle high being swept as well. And if you're wondering about a key level, there's an hourly fair value gap right over here, right there. So we'll just mark this out as red. Drop down to the 1-minute time frame, and we're going to need to wait for an order block validation to go short. TP1 would be the midpoint of the 9 AM range, which is right about here at these equal lows. So you can just have your TP at the equal lows, which would be right there. Equal lows being TP1, and then TP2 being the opposing end of that 9 AM range. That being said, I am still bullish. So entering short here is not the most ideal. You're going against the bias. This would be the order block if we do get it. Right over here. And the most ideal situation is if we inverse the gap at the same time as the validation of the order block, which is in my books needed. You see me talking about this quite some bit. So we just inverse that gap. Going short here is a very good spot, and you can actually wait for a retracement into the order block with shorts right here is a good idea as well. Stop loss at the highs, nice tight stop, 5.75 points, and then you'd be targeting the midpoint right there of the range, and then the 9 AM lows right over there. I'm still bullish, but this is the mechanical way to approach the 9 AM CR model. So this would be the short right here with the IVG here. Yeah, ideally you do not want to be entering against bias because stuff like, so if we end up rejecting this and keep on pumping higher, there's only one real reason that happened, and that's because you're trading against the bias. Now, if you have a mechanical way to approach the market, like the 9 AM CR model, where you target the midpoint and then the opposing end, your R is usually higher than 2. In that case, you can always approach the market this way and come out of the year with profit. You know, some days you'll have losses. You just got to understand that loss was not due to the strategy. It was due to you trading against the bias and approaching this model as some type of pattern trading model, really. But that's about it. So we have the bearish S&T at the highs, right? NQ never took out the high. ES took out the high. We have the order block formation, 15-minute CRT key level, and IFVG with the order block. So everything is in alignment to go shorts if you want to trade this mechanical way. All right, so shorts from there. You could have waited for the order block tap, or you could have just entered as soon as the IFVG and the order block were formed in one candle right there. We're going to wait for NQ. Personally, I would rather go long on NQ than go short. I don't want to trade against bias today at all. Low probability long if I enter here. But yeah. And I'll show you, this is exactly, hopefully we do pump and get the stop loss here, because that would show you that trading against bias is the worst thing that you can possibly do. Now, for an hourly CRT, you don't always need the bias. However, having an understanding of where bias is important because it helps you shift your mind. So sometimes you'll be looking at, okay, I want to go short here. I see a short setup. We confirmed an order block right there, but the bias is bullish. Why? We're also in data lows coming out of a 4-hour fair value gap. We got data highs as a target. If you're looking for shorts here, you're going to get smoked and left in the dust. Similar to right here, if we do get stopped out, which is the most ideal situation here, we should be getting stopped out for price to continue running higher. So we'll see what happens over here. Ideally, price should respect this 1-minute breaker and go higher on ES.
¿Quieres un certificado que demuestre que sabes utilizar la inteligencia artificial? Entonces apúntate al IA.
That's exactly what we want to happen, and that would actually confirm that NQ is going to head towards those 8 AM and 9 AM highs. So stop out there. So that's what happens when you go against the bias. We had the IFG, we had the order block, we had the sweep of the highs, we had everything key level. But even with everything there, if you're going against the bias, you're going to lose the trade. So here's a good representation where we respected the discount of the entire range, and price is basically respecting all bullish PD arrays. Okay, so we just, this is the 1-hour gap. We're going to head higher there. We're not going to stop. NQ is going to continue running up as well. That's the bias. There you go. Unfortunately, like I said, with the 10 o'clock open here, which was right there, we did manipulate lower, and I said we couldn't basically manipulate into this order block and then expand up. My best scenario would be manipulate beneath the open into a discount of the range and beneath these equal lows into a 1-minute and 5-minute fair value gap to then go long. We didn't get that, but similar to this, if this would have just been deeper, that's exactly what I anticipated there, creating this 1-minute low right there, and then sweeping that 1-minute low right there, so similar to this setup here, and then to go long. We didn't get that, but that was the idea there. Once again, I would not be looking to go short on ES. Prices should continue expanding up. We got a 5-minute order block right there. Should be respected. If we do need to come lower, we do have a 1-minute gap too. IVG here on ES and a potential order block formation right there to go short. I would not enter the short. Once again, I'm going to draw it out just to show you what would happen if you go short, targeting the midpoint and the opposing end of the range. So that would be an entry right there, stop loss at the highs. This would be the second short going against the bias. Of course, DP1 being at this midpoint level right there, equal lows. Show you why this is not the most ideal setup. Price is going to continue expanding the opposite way, simply because that's bias, right? So we have an order block there. Let's see if that boosts us through this order block and this IFG right there. And this would be an example of what not to take. Even though we do have the SMT, bias is still extremely bullish. The fair value gap would have been right there, which we are technically beneath it right here. That being said, we might have an SMT, and that would cause the pump back to the upside. So that would look something like, let's actually keep it a solid line. That would look something like this. Move down beneath the low, SMT at those lows, to then head higher. And that's why you don't want to be entering short going against the buys there. NQ should not tap beneath these lows over here, unless we get a kiss of death setup in this play here. What is that? Well, we'll probably tap into a discount if that happens. but it's not my anticipation here. We should easily just respect the gap here and continue heading higher while forming an SMT with ES. That's the idea. So hopefully we get the SMT and the fair value gap hold here with the order block holding as well. That's the idea. We need ES to tap beneath that low. It's a requirement if price wants to go higher. Very small chance that we stop here. Very small. So at this point in time, most 9am CR traders would be thinking, okay, we're going lower, price action is looking bearish, we got the initial reaction off the order block. What you notice is that initial reaction is not strong. Number one, you're going against the bias. So, I mean, listen, if you're going against bias and the reaction is not strong, that's a hint as to where price actually wants to go to, and this might just be the rebalance. So sure, you're in profits for a very short amount of time, but price is going to eventually reverse on you, okay? And you don't want to be on the opposite side of price action. So right here, you can see the 1 minute gap on NQ being respected. We still didn't sweep the lows here on the 1 minute time frame for ES, which is once again not the best scenario. What I'm looking at here today in prices, just not the best scenarios. The only real continuation entry would have either been on 9:30 market open into that fair value gap to go long, or the tap into this order block after, or sorry, not the tap into the order block, rather the validation of the order block and IFEG right here in this candle. So entry going right there. Besides that, NQ never tapped into a discount after moving above into a premium, so there's no valid continuation entry on NQ. ES did have a validation point to go long while tapping into a discount right there after 9:30 market open within the macro inside of that order block. So that was the only position to enter long. It was right over here in a discount or down here on NQ. So ideally right now we should see ES move up and past the order block in this IFEG. A lot of people would be entering short here, seeing the SMT, and that would allow price action to continue moving to the upside and stop everybody out. It's just unfortunate that we didn't get the total sweep of that 1 minute low.
¿Y si el problema no es lo que estás pidiendo, sino la incoherencia con la que lo estás emitiendo?
Fortunate, but it is what it is. Sometimes price action isn't going to give you the exact thing that you're expecting, as long as you have the bias and all that correct. Alright guys, so that's exactly what I was talking about here. I explained to you why everybody would be stopped out if they enter this trade, similar to the previous trade right there. Bias is bullish, and this, so hold on a second here. This play that I drew out with the manipulation beneath the low didn't happen, however the distribution back to the upside did occur right there. Also similar to NQ, we tapped into final TP right there. We failed to tap into a discount, failed to tap into the 1 minute gap there. We did have this formation form, right, with the 1 minute low there, sweeping that 1 minute low, similar to this setup right there that I drew out. However, that wasn't inside of a discount, so just not an A+ entry, since entering in a premium of a market is not the best thing to do, for example. Alright, so right now, it's currently 10:32, probably not going to execute a trade. Now, if we see some type of reversal here, which I doubt, I am still heavily bullish up until ES taps into the data highs as well. ES has some clear targets, relatively equal highs there, so I think price action can continue moving up both on ES and NQ. That being said, there's a 4-hour gap. We have the 8am highs, we got the 9am highs. We can easily turtle sweep this range and then come to the midpoint of that 9am range as well, so that would be right here. Midpoint right there, which aligns with this fair value gap. Looks like TP1 might be hit for the short if it comes here. Then again, you are going against the bias, so I do not recommend taking that short simply because something like that could have happened where you get stopped out. So yeah, going against the bias wouldn't be too smart here. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then I will hop off the session. Today was mainly a tape reading session. I actually didn't catch any entries today, unfortunately. You know, the 9am CR model needed a sweep of the 8am lows. We couldn't get that. 9am lows were never swept. We actually just respected all bullish PD arrays to the upside, and we were reading tape together today. I hope you guys benefited a lot from this. Understanding, we actually covered some important topics. We understood why the entries over here were bad, and that can be translated, or sorry, converted to NQ and other charts like EU, GU, gold, etc. When you see things like that happen, it's important to understand that going against the bias is the worst thing that you could possibly do. And if you do go against the bias because you want to approach the market mechanically, then expect to be stopped out more than somebody who is going with the bias. And that's pretty much it. And that's that. So that's my bias for the rest of the day. And I will catch you guys soon. Let me know in the comment section if you guys like these style videos. A little bit different than usual. It's actually the first time I do this where I'm live in front of my camera, recording the entire session, trying to look for trades and tape reading at the same time.